Tsm'syen. We'll call him Henry, so thank you. Waksanak was Preston Wilson, and he needed help because as people, real people, we don't need a power of attorney. We only take this information because we don't know that system. And in fact, they don't know ours. So I started this education back in 2008, filing documents. The elder I was working with, Tsm'syen, Big Stone Cree of the Saguenay and Inawak, Muscatee, Saguenay and Inawak, Big Stone Cree. Their history goes back to 1830s, 1840s, when they came into the interior of BC Sick. Well, they call it BC because the colonialists told you to call it BC. We call it peoples of the salmon because as nations of the salmon, brothers and sisters of the salmon, the swimming people, we share them. We share them in the south with the river called the Fraser, and in the north with the Skeena. So how do I get tied up with Tsm'syen and the south coast here? I started fishing with the Hartley Bay people in 2014, about 1970, 69, 70. I walk into one of our crewmen's homes, his grandmother, Rose Robinson. And she said, "You're from Seychelles?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Do you know Sarah?" He says, "Yeah, that's my grandmother." She said, "We worked together in Sunnyside." Wow. That has to go back to, my mother was born in 32, so that had to go back to 2014, 2010, 14, 15, 16, somewhere in there. My aunt made it up there too. She married the Clifton family in Hartley Bay. And my brother was raised by them because my mother wasn't married to my father down here. So my aunt took care of my brother because we shared children in family. So my aunt took my older brother, raised them with Mel, because my aunt Kai couldn't have children. I made it up there because my brother, he kind of an older brother, said, "Well, come on, work with me." I made it into Rupert. I remember coming down by the theaters. I said, "Geez, I'm back home. I remember this place. I know where everything is." And for the next 4 years, I grew up. The bars, front door and back door, what to say, what not to say. Made it out looking out the portal and, on the way fishing, because we fished 4 or 5 days a week. There was nothing. Canoes, well, I started rowing in the dead skiffs, so our friend knows what they were like. Tie the net up into the beach. We didn't have fancy outboards like they do now. My last stint on one of those boats was about 4 years ago. I got tired of being teased of being a starfish climbing up the rocks because I was still tying up the net to the beach, catching our share of fish still. And I fished with Lucky Boo, Art Lawson from his mom's Ruby from Nishka, I think, or from Port Simpson. So Ruby is relatives of our seashell people too. My ties to the coast are relatives here in Squamish, the Baker family, the Nyanis, are our family too. I speak as Amos for the Talaman people, to Jigajumu, Robert Blaney. We have family in Nanaimo. Abe Jeffrey's sister was married to somebody in Seychelles. The church came in and got involved and said you can't take 2 wives. So she moved over to the Nanaimo and married the Good family. So our family is from Seychelles and Nanaimo. From that family, their parents was Hasinuit and Klakamai. That's all we knew them as. I think one was named Teresa. So Teresa Hasinuit was our family. Klakamai was, I believe, Portuguese Joe Silva's wife. So I have ties to Squamish, Cowichan, Chemanis, Nanaimo, Comox, Amalco. Our people went to Amalco and saw 2 women and said, "Hey, where are you guys from?" "Well, we used to be from Seychelles." "Well, would you like to come back home?" That was from my elder's husband. Said, "Would you like to go back home?" No, we're happy here. No, we're okay, thanks. They took 2 wives from our seashore people with our local people and made the people there. They say seashore gets around. And we're families all over the place. Both as sportsmen, both as canoe people, as hunters. Joe Johnson's family, Chief Capilano, one of the Chief Capilinos, Jerry Johnson's family, is my friend, Randy Matson. He just come hunting with us, but I also fish with him. So what brings me to Peoples of the Salmon is because I got educated a little bit with Copper Eagle, Art Collins. Introduced me some hereditary people of the Tsm'syen. Henry came a little bit after that. So I was working on ideas of bringing our people together with Copper Eagle. And he told me the story of how we share the 2-headed eagle. And it was brought to the coast 400, 500, 600, 700 years ago. It's in the Gitga'ata, Prince Rupert, Campbell River, Bella Vella, Seashell, and all the way down to outside of Seattle. People of the salmon, we share the salmon. And so peoples of the salmon came together with STMAS and the nations that we started working for, because the knowledge I gained is creator given. I share it. And as I've shared it with our people here, with peoples of the salmon, we also use the law of theirs. Because if you go back in English law, they've always respected the original people on this land of Turtle Island. I have an interview coming up next week, and is Turtle Island going to be broken up into smaller nations? You probably take a coin and flip it now. However, we were a kingdom at one time with over 570 some odd arrows under a King Chief Canada as recognized by Queen Victoria. His name was Chief Cook de Soto from back east. And that represented South America, Central, and North America peoples. And you know, when you have one arrow, you snap it, break it like a twig. But when you have these big arrows, we are strong. Queen Victoria saw that in our people. She never signed the B&A Act. B&A Act doesn't represent Canada, doesn't represent our people. However, they have a set of laws that protected our people going back to 1704. And from 1704, we had a right to represent our people in a tribunal, a third party appeal outside their court, because their courts are for them. They're corporation courts representing corporations, and always have been. And as soon as we understand what that means, we have a tribunal that we can appeal to. And actually, there's some court cases now that are going to come up that represent the third-party rights of Indigenous people. Not necessarily through the UN and these other foreign agencies, but a true tribunal that represents our people. So now, as we become one people, Kanat'an, in Manitou language, it means sacred land. So I'm proud to be a headsman, as I have written court cases. I've sat in that same court that Henry went and spoke for my brother because he couldn't afford to get me up to the courtroom, so he went into the next one and helped his brother, Roxanath. And he did his work well. He did his research. He also put the people of the Tsm'syen's map in their court. So between the cases now that we have won and the cases yet to be won, I go into court and I can speak as Popois. And the last time I did for the Gitga'ata, some of the hereditary in Cecil and sat in court, I wrote a application to that court to intervene. And the judge said, you're a little bit late, but you know what, come on up anyway, say your piece. And I said it would cost you, if you make a mistake, Your Honor, it's going to cost you $1 trillion. Cost us $1 trillion because I'm here to represent the children. As you notice in the picture, the children and the children's children, because we haven't looked after them yet. We talked about bringing canoe racing to the Olympics, which we could. We have lacrosse and field lacrosse in Summer Olympics. There's lots of things we can do to get our children back into our culture and to be proud of who we are. So I skip around and I don't use papers and write a script. That's what I should say. It comes from my heart. And when I speak in court, I said, you look at all these people behind me, they're all Law Society people. I speak for the people and the rights of the people. I spoke as bold voice. I was the only un-Law Society person to speak. And he says, okay, I hope I don't make a mistake, and if I do you have a right to come and appeal. As we have laws that protect us, imperial orders that protect us, Queen Anne's Order of Council, King George Royal Proclamation, which is the Magna Carta for our laws, he said no private person, and that refers to all white people almost, no private person, society, corporation, or colony, and those are all corporate organizations, cannot occupy our land without a first purchase by them and or before a council of the said Indians. And those don't take place. However, those are their laws, and they've been said in court many times. And between the elder and myself, Tsm'syen, we wrote the case that made it to the Supreme Court of Canada that recognized and eventually became the case, I believe, that Canada returned all the lands back to the Indian people across Kanat'an. They call it Canada, but Canada is only in maritime law, admiralty, and it was incorporated as a corporation back in 1860 out of the Hudson's Bay Company, put on the books of the U.S., and since it's an incorporated country, registered in a foreign government in a foreign country, it is called a foreign government under the SEC, which is Security Exchange Commission, codes 8888, which is a foreign government to us. Doesn't represent us. So that's what we have to put up with. That's why we have Kanat'an. We have an alliance. I'm proud to say that we have a tribunal here that started it all. People that believed in our rights because our title was returned to us. All our titles are returned to us. All we have to be is strong enough to write now the paper that removes them from any position of authority on our lands. They put our peoples on these reservations. There's no such thing as English law as reservations because it's a noun. A reservation is a noun. In English, no such thing. In their laws, Constitution 1982, no reservations. That was cultural genocides that they did that to us with. If we can get our young people to understand that you can go live anywhere and be a said Indian, we are. I live outside the reserve and I claim all my rights as an Indian. And I've done that for many Tsm'syen native fishermen as well, because Rupert is still said Indian land. And I've clawed back over $100,000 of their tax money, and they should get all their tax money back. Now we know how to do it. We work on it every day. We have a legal team. We have a website called peoplesofthesalmon.org, and we're here to help our people. Our tribunal and our members of the Pagan in Alberta are turning the courts over. The last one was they came and got one of our brothers out of his house, claimed that he was driving intoxicated without a warrant, took him out of his home, put him in jail, made him sign a form that he was driving, which wasn't true. Came and got his chief, went to court with him. They went to a trial. They wanted to put him in jail. But he said, hey, judge, where is it that your statute here overrides any of our rights on our treaty rights on this land? Where do you get the jurisdiction? He turned to the RCMP officer and says, why did you even, why do you come and stop him? Was it because or pull him into court? Was it because his skin is dark? Called the racism card. It looked like it worked because it shut him up too. And then the prosecutor asked the same question. Where do you get the rights to bring our people into jail? The judge said, I can't make a decision here, we'll postpone it. So they're going to go back. Now what we are doing now is making our fee schedule. You want to detain our people, it's going to cost you because they don't have any rights. The last time he was at the side of the road with 6 officers around him, he made them cry because he told them, says, well, this is our land. Where do you have a right to charge us for being on our land? Well, we didn't know. Sorry. The woman officer crying. So it is working. Imperial orders protect us. The rights that our inherent rights are still intact. And so our work has just begun. I'm proud to be headsman because I started the process with the tribunal, our right that we had an appeal to a third party. We do that. We write documents, we make the law, and we tell them our tribunal has agreed, we sign it, and then we give it back to them. But we don't sign as Henry Green, I don't sign as David Jeffries, I sign as Popois, the Indian. And so I'm proud to speak on behalf of the Alliance of Kanat'an. We just heard that the military has now been informed because they know that Canada has only a less than a 60 or 70% approval rating. Trudeau's dropped down to below 27 now, I heard, 25. So the military now, as of a meeting last night, because my friend called me late after the meeting. The military is aware of who we are, what we're doing, and will be meeting with us. The fellow that's been knighted by King Charles and been asked to join the Council of 13 has said, I will sign with Popois, with the people of the Salmon and the Alliance. He's talked about the money that we asked King Charles about, 100 billion. He's come back and asked me if a third is the right of $100 billion. Third for stay in the pot, third for the operate the government, and third for supposedly our people. What do you think? Think we should take it?
No.
I didn't think so either. That is our money anyway. So it's a negotiating, but you know what? They've hurt us. Because I told, there's a $650 trillion bill there. However, on the other hand, I've heard that there's a number with 72 zeros behind it that they owe us, since they've been keeping score of the amount of money that they've taken off our lands. You've never been poor. They just keep us that way because it looks good for them. But we have strength, and we're going to get strength in numbers. We've asked the non-native people to join us in Wolverines, to walk with us on the lands. Not on a ship, because for the most part, that ship is sunk. All those people are sitting in the water, treading water, and hoping that they're not going to get put in jail or thrown somewhere, or jabbed, or put in these concentration camps that they're thinking they're starting. So we only need to have faith in the Creator, that He's brought us all together to speak in one voice, one mind, one heart. So thank you for allowing me to speak. Amoungst Chalop. Popois Tsm'syen, Elatsonai. Sipako as my mother. I was just asking, I was looking for my grandmother's name. I thought it was Sladely Kai, but that's my aunt's name. And her mother is Molian. And Molian, because her mother died at her birth, was raised by a Squamish, Lucy. Molian's father was Francis Billy. And I'm not sure where he was from because we haven't found any details on it, but I think he was either up the Pembroke Valley or from Merritt area. But since Molian's mother died at her birth, she was raised by a Squamish woman called Lucy. So my ties are here as much as they are seashelled. So I thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you, Popois. Very inspirational. I think there's a lot of opportunities for us, and it's within ourselves. It's within our blood. And thanks again to Gitga'ata for his kind words about the presentation that we had. And I would like to thank Henry Green and Gerald Stewart for that. And on that note, we're going to go downstairs and we're going to have some chowder. And then we're going to have a couple more speakers and then we're going to wrap up the day. Thank you so much.